Welcome to Point Blank. This is your host, Panama Crypto. Today our guest is Filb Filb. Filb Filb is a full-time trader. He has more than 50 years of experience in finance. He is founder of DECENTRADER, a hub for traders where they can gain an edge over the market. Welcome, Filb Filb. It's awesome to have you here.
Hey, Panama. Thanks for having me on the show.
Nice. Let's get going. So who is Filb Filb?
Okay, so my background, so my real name's Phil, obviously, only one of them. And my background is effectively, I was a student of economics, went off into the finance world, starting out at a big blue chip company. Sort of went down the sort of accountancy finance route to start with, owned like a big budget, sort of $1 billion sized budget eventually within the first 5 years for a very well-known company, which was largely to do with forecasting, short-term quarterly forecasts through to 5-year forecasts for production. So I got into the finance sector that way, lots of project work and stuff like that, and I finished my chartered accountancy stuff. But I felt like it wasn't really the kind of finance route that I wanted to be in. I was far more interested in like the markets and all that sort of stuff. So I had a very good grounding at the start there, but it wasn't really where I wanted to be, as I say. So also being in a big business like that, you can't really have much of an impact on really what's going on. You just become like, albeit quite, you do your part as a small cog in a wheel, but in the machine or whatever, but you really can't make a difference yourself. And I felt as though like I wanted to go and do more hands-on stuff where you're the one who's making the decisions, and trying to do that in a big company is almost impossible, So left there, downsized to a smaller, but still, $1 billion size company that was doing trading in commodities. And they were also a miner as well. So you can kind of see that's that was the sort of pinnacle point where things started to change a little bit. So I ended up doing a lot more financial modeling for these guys and working alongside the traders, specifically on risk management. So we're a UK company dealing in sterling, trading coal and coke, so commodities, exposure to commodity markets, and then also the deals were done in dollars. So there's a lot of hedging, foreign currency trades that needed to be done there. And around that sort of time, I also, got interested in Bitcoin. So again, there's sort of a segue into the mining sort of stuff was very similar in terms of cost of production. There was the dollar stuff going on there as well. And obviously all the financial products. So I was dealing with traders. I was getting more into the trading side of things. So that's kind of where my real things really changed for me, was the financial modeling and trading aspect sort of all came together at that point. So stayed in the finance sector for a while, got up to sort of board level type roles, very happy and all that stuff, but really I wanted to just go and do the trading stuff for myself, because I was being fairly successful myself, made a bit of money in the crypto markets. And from that point I was speaking to some VCs about potentially going and doing some startup work for them and delivering their finance stuff, but I decided that wasn't really for me, so I just went off on my own and just went down and started crypto trading full time. So that's kind of how I got to where I am now.
When does this crypto journey started for you? How did it started?
So originally, I think I'd sort of heard about crypto a little bit, and there was a guy, one of my friends, had I think bought Bitcoins for about $50 or something like that. And
those are the good friends.
yeah. I don't think they've got their Bitcoins anymore. I think they sold them at like $200 or something like that. So, so I sort of heard about that, and I got a little bit. I heard about that guy, and then I heard about one of my other good friends who'd been mining Bitcoin. And then I was like, why are these guys not talking to me about this stuff? I want to get involved. So I started turning my attention a little bit more to it. And actually, to be honest, I didn't get in the market until after just after the not last halving, but the one before. So in 2016, was it? Midway through
15,
2016.
16.
Yeah, 15, 16, whenever. So around, not hugely dissimilar to where we are now, but in the last cycle, which wasn't a bad time to get in. It was just before the Bitfinex hack. So that was my first buy the dip moment. So yeah, obviously thereafter, everything just happened really quite quickly, over the next 18 months or whatever.
That's a killer entry.
It was a pretty good entry, yeah. I definitely didn't want to buy into Bitcoin when it had gone up straight up to sort of $1,100 or whatever it was back in 2013. And then obviously there was we sort of laughed at this one friend of ours who'd bought some Bitcoin that just kept going down every day, and it was like a bit of a joke, and then it stopped happening. And it started going the other way again. I was like, all right, then let's have a look at it. And then, obviously I threw a few quid into it, and we are where here we are today, basically.
Nice. Can you tell us more about DECENTRADER?
Yeah, so DECENTRADER is, as you sort of said, it's like a centralized hub for traders to come and get whatever it is from the experienced traders that they need to try and be successful in the market. Now, the idea of this really came about because when I ran my free trading journal, which has been relatively successful on Telegram, I was posting in there, basically just free analysis and trading ideas. And yeah, it grew quite fast, but I had a lot of requests for people, sir, how do you do the trading? Like, how do you please educate me? And it's like, I was getting those sorts of questions. I was getting, I want to see all of your positions. Will you trade for me? I can't do that, but I'll take that on board. Then there was kind of like, what other coins are you trading? Can you post all of the setups? And over time, I just absorbed all of this stuff that I was getting asked, and then I was looking around at what are the things that were being offered, and you're just basically getting like a Discord channel, not very structured, people who don't really have much experience in finance, who are sort of quite often just scamming people out of their money. So what I wanted to do was, I'd always said I wanted to put together a product that was, something which I would be proud of and put my name against, and I wouldn't do it until I could do that. So what I did was I got Philip Swift on board, who's also Positive Crypto on Twitter. You probably heard of him. And he came on board and helped with some of the investor side of things. So we wanted to offer the full start to end product where you could sort of go and have a look at, free charts which would help you look at long-term investing decision making on the site. And then also, I know that he's a great trader himself, an investor, so I obviously wanted some support. I didn't want to just be myself who was on there. And we discussed how to do things, and basically what we did was we put together various different tools to try and help traders. So, risk management tools, a trading journal area to help traders learn how to be more, regimented in their approach. And then also, for transparency purposes, we put on a trading bot API, which effectively follows an account which I manage. So it's not a copy bot arrangement, but it's very transparent in that, users can see what I'm actually doing on a day-to-day in an account, with all of the sort of, adjustments to the trades that I'm doing and all that sort of stuff. So there's all of that. There's the educational stuff that we do. I have an algorithm which I sell as well to people, so that you can pick that up on there. Phil's also put together some indicators. You can pick those up on there as well. And yeah, every day we're doing, live streams and doing a lot of, updates about what our positions are, what coins we're looking at, responding to what people are asking us to do. On Friday, I did a 7-hour live stream in the Bybit competition. So at the minute, it's absolutely, full steam ahead. I'm getting like 3 hours sleep every night. It's not sustainable. I know that. So I'm looking for a little bit of help actually. But overall, it's like a really exciting project. It's going really well. The market's up. The account that we're tracking's up. So I've got no complaints whatsoever. Just loving doing the project.
That sounds pretty exciting. For those that don't know, Filb Filb has around 15,000 followers on his trading journal. How many followers you people on your Discord?
Well, the Discord community we've just set up, there's about 120 or something people have just joined in the last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So we've had a pretty good start with that. Obviously we've got different pricing levels for different people. So like the cheapest package is basically just what the trading journal used to be, but with way more setups across loads of different coins and that sort of stuff. Or you can go for the full package where it's more about, following my position. You've got VIP support and all that kind of thing, where you've got access to the trading journal and stuff like that. So we've tried to segment it into being whatever it is that people want it to be. So yeah, it's going pretty well for now. But
have you guys have been thinking about doing automated trading with your indicators?
Yeah, so that sort of stuff is in the pipe. I mean, there's two basically other projects that I'm working on as well. One is that I've got a fully fledged UK regulated fund ready to go. So a vehicle to do a fund in. So that's something that will come in a couple of months. And the other is to also do, more of the automated trading stuff. We're going to have a look at that. I haven't decided whether or not it'll run off the existing
Indicator.
Indicator, or I'm always developing stuff in the background, and I've got other things to come as well. So there may be a different variant of it for a bot or something, or we might not do it. I don't know. I haven't decided.
Maybe you will have more free time if you left the bot running instead of doing manual trading.
Yeah, I mean, very much possibly. Yeah, that is true. What I would say is setting up a business in the crypto sector, particularly in a country like the UK, is extreme. It's in the difficulty level of very difficult, to be honest, especially if you're trying to do it legitimately. So it does take a lot of time, and I agree that getting a bot might be useful, might be more useful.
Can imagine the regulations in the UK are quite strict.
Oh, unbelievably strict. Yeah, I don't think there's a worse place in the world to be trying to do a fund in the UK. The startup costs are outrageous, and the banks aren't very helpful at all. The tax regime towards crypto is just nonsensical as well. So everything about it is difficult. Fortunately, of course, I studied accountancy. I'm a chartered accountant by trade originally, so I'm able to cut massive corners that other people would have to pay people an absolute fortune to work out for them. So I'm lucky in that respect.
Maybe no regulation like in Panama is the best approach.
I'll speak to the wife about that.
That's probably why Deribit moved down here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. There, or Puerto Rico, or I think Portugal's pretty good. British Virgin Islands.
Netherlands is not that bad either.
Yeah, not
in taxation.
I don't know if I'm allowed.
1.5% in taxation gains.
Oh, that's not too bad. It's not too far from me either, actually. So it's a good excuse to go there.
Nice. Moving a notch up here, can you walk us through your go-to trading strategy and style, Phil?
Sure. I mean, originally I was sort of more well known for my long-term view of what's going to happen in the Bitcoin market. I think that's where I sort of originally started gathering a few followers and things like that. But realistically, I'm trading all day, every day, and my strengths are definitely as a swing trader, to be honest. So what I tend to do is I look for a swing setup, and and then I scalp within the trade itself. So I find an edge in the market where I'll find the swing trade that I want to take. I'll have a rough, well, not rough, but I'll have the risk that I want to take on the trade. I'll know the reward side. It always has to be, ideally, greater than a 1 to 4 risk reward. But I'll accept a 2. And then, within the trade, I'll manage it on a day-to-day basis, on a scalping basis, where I'll add and remove leverage based on how sure I am within the trade itself. So, for example, yesterday, or even in this consolidation phase we've been in, I think we're still within a reaccumulation phase again, having broken out. And my strategy has been to effectively be long from $11,100 to circa $13,800, $14,000. That's the trade idea. And then what I've been doing within that is sort of buying and selling, support and resistance, until we get to, with leverage, take off the leverage at the resistance. When we're at resistance and we're going to break out, and I'm comfortable with that, I'll add the leverage back on. I tend to put high leverage to start with. As the move starts taking place, I'll start pulling the leverage back, and then sort of add and take it on and scalp as it gets volatile as we go. And I'll be out of the trade. I'll be out of the leverage, fairly, within the first half of the trade, and then I'll try and dump best I can as nearest to my target as I can. So that's generally how I go about it.
So that's quite time consuming and brain intensive style of trading.
It is. I mean, I specialize in doing that with Bitcoin, though. You can't do that with all of the different cryptos. With the other cryptos, it is more sort of, looking for the setups within consolidation or accumulation or reaccumulation phases or distribution, standard stuff. I do that. But with Bitcoin, I just feel as though I'm totally in tune with the market, so I feel like I've got an edge with that, and I can get really into the weeds with what's going on.
This episode is brought to you by PrimeXBT, the exchange that makes possible to trade with leverage on legacy markets from a single Bitcoin-based account. So spot versus leverage, how do you play this across a market cycle?
What I like to do is try and get pretty heavily leveraged within within an accumulation phase.
What do you mean by heavy leverage?
Okay, so my background's in risk management, generally speaking. So to me, heavy leverage might be 3x. I would never be getting sort of more leverage than 3x in a long-term trade position. So
anything above 5 is completely absurd.
Well, I'm currently trading in the Bybit competition. I'm using like 30x leverage on the account. So,
those sizes are quite small, right? You guys started with 0.1 BTC.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, this is a one-off for me doing it this way. But generally speaking, I will use higher leverage if, for example, I've got 100%. If I've got 100% of my stack, and I only have 20% of it on a leverage exchange, I will leverage that up to 5x to get it to mirror my 100% that I want to be trading at. But and then I will leverage it further if I need to. So I do risk manage across that and use the leverage on the accounts for what it's meant for, which is to mitigate counterparty risk of specific exchanges. But overall, in terms of thinking of the whole portfolio, I don't want to be leveraged more than 3x when I'm at the bottom. And as we move through the cycle or up into resistance, as I say, there's going to be no leverage at that point. I'm looking to get rid of the spot, if that makes sense.
Yeah, completely. Do you currently have any other coins like Ripple, Ethereum, microcaps?
So I've got my general position in front of me right now. So I've got a relatively large size in Ripple at the moment, much to my distaste because but fundamentally I'm a quasi Bitcoin maximalist in that I get what the value proposition is, right? Any other coins that I'm in, they're just purely to try and make more Bitcoin at this point in time. So Ripple, I don't like the project, but given where we are on the market cycle, it's at 30 cents. It's hit this descending resistance 4 times now. It's just about breaking out of it. It's across years of sort of selling off in the cycle. It's a cheap coin on an individual unit basis, which is attractive to retail investors who are trying to come into the market at this particular part of the cycle. So to me, Ripple, you can see also it's had accumulation like volume as well. So to me, Ripple is most certainly one that I'm seeing there being potential for upside in it. So I'm in that. It's around about 15% of my portfolio at the minute. I'm also in Tezos. I had a fairly long-term position in that from $1 or $2, and I've sold it off a little bit as we've gone up. I do sometimes sell a little bit too much. So my strategy with the alts is to just rotate. When I've made a good return, I'll rotate to one that hasn't broken out yet in the cycle. So Tezos, I've still got some of that left. I picked up some EOS the other day because the original narrative with that one was Ethereum 2.0. It was kind of doing the same thing as Ripple. And yeah, Ethereum's absolutely shot off. So EOS, I'm pretty simple the way I think sometimes. If that one's gone, then Ethereum, if Ethereum's gone, then maybe EOS will go. So I think that one's up about 11% since I've dumped in about 4% or something of my portfolio into that. I've got some IOTA, I've got some Dash, I've got some Zcash. And that's about it for now. I'm constantly getting in and out of these coins. I'm not precious with them in any way. I like to try and see, up to like a 30% ROI on the investment, and then I'll start cycling out, as I say, into something else. I was in Link, but I got out of that a little bit too early, to be honest. And yeah, so yeah.
What is too early?
What is too early? I think I
Sub $10.
sold it, yeah, about $9 or something. I then got back in about $14, trying to trade it up to 22, and I got stopped out by 3 cents. And I'm very bitter about that still, actually. So there you go. I am bidding though. So I was going to say I am bidding on Link, and I'm bidding low. I think that thing might come down pretty hard at some point. I guess people are really over leveraged into that position at the minute, and I could see it come crashing down quite quickly.
So Phil, what is your overall market forecast for the next few months?
Well, I think Bitcoin, I'm only going to talk about Bitcoin here. Realistically, I can see Bitcoin is going to push towards maybe the upper 13, 14, or maybe tap 14K. I don't think it's going to get too far beyond that without having a significant pullback. The reason for that is you can just see there's people flooding into the market. I asked a question actually on Twitter yesterday. I'd never got around to completing the analysis. Unfortunately, I will do it actually and post it after this. But I specifically said, at what price do you think there'll be a 30 to 40% correction in this market? And people were coming out like 20K, 30K, 100K and all this sort of stuff. And you're going, these guys, they haven't been around for very long, and they will get a very rude awakening sooner or later if they're thinking like that. Anybody who's been around in this market for any amount of time knows that a 30% correction is like a 2 or 3 day job for Bitcoin, and then maybe give it a few weeks and it'll be pushing a new high again.
Exactly.
But the odds of that not happening before 20k are extremely low in my view. So in the next few months, I think we might tap up towards 14k, and then we'll have a pullback, maybe to retest 10k or something around there, 10 or 11k, and then we'll be off again. But the market, is undeniably heavily correlated towards gold and silver at the moment. In my opinion, I don't know, maybe people would deny that, but the two appear to be moving together, or the three, which I think is a great sign for Bitcoin, particularly in this economic environment. It's shown that Bitcoin's maturing as an asset class. It's a resilient asset. It's maturing in itself, and I think that it's going to continue effectively onto the upside, as long as that's the way that the whole market goes. I mean, what we learned from the breakdown when we had the Corona thing was, can we say that? I don't know. When we had
of course,
the thing, we had the big sell-off and everything got sold.
March 13 sell-off.
Yeah, that was a memorable night for me. That was crazy night.
Why?
You
were awake?
I was very much awake. I was on the right side of the trade, and I bought the absolute bottom of the BitMEX futures. So that was probably the most successful night of trading I've ever had. The wife came to get. I was in my office, and the wife was like, "Are you not going to bed?" It was about sort of like 6:30 in the morning, and I was just dripping in sweat. It was the most intense thing I've ever been through in my life. And I think once you've been through that, you've really earned your stripes in the crypto trading market. So I mean, it wasn't an easy ride back up to 10k. So I'm not going to make out that it's been all plain sailing, but so overall, I think we're at the start of a bull market, very much so. All of the indicators are telling us that. Go and have a look at some of the long-term charts on DECENTRADER. Everything is telling you that if you look at the previous cycles, we are exactly where we should be. All of the on-chain stuff says, for example, the number of wallets that have 1,000 coins in is pushing all-time highs. The number of coins with $100 in, 100 coins is doing the same. So that means there's big players in the market with a bigger distribution who are all interested in getting in. Obviously, we've had the reduction in the inflation rate in the market with the halving that's just happened. You can see in one of the charts which I really like is the 1 year HODL chart. You can see that the amount of time people are holding the balances on their addresses for 1 year or more is like at all-time highs. It's exactly the same place that it was in the same part of the cycle last time, and just everything says to me that as long as there's no like black swan or America bans Bitcoin or something like that, we should be at the foot of quite a large run up. Where that goes, who knows? But everything, the picture couldn't look better than it currently does, in my opinion.
That's amazing to hear. So that being said, is a major alt season or mini alt season upon us?
Well, again, looking at Bitcoin dominance, I think it was around about 60 or something. I can definitely see that coming back down towards 50. If you look at the chart, it's a very ugly looking chart for Bitcoin's dominance. And I don't know if we'll ever see I would have said I don't think we'll ever see anything like the alt season in 2017. But now with the DeFi stuff, I don't know. I'm not so sure anymore, because there's a totally different narrative to what there was last. It's a similar sort of narrative, just dressed up in a different way, and it's all on Ethereum again. So it's kind of the same but different. So I don't know what's going to happen. Is it going to be a big alt season? I think it's going to be a different alt season to last time, But overall, I expect Bitcoin dominance to come down. You know, it will obviously have ups and downs, but I think it will come back down towards that 50%. And wherever that money's going to go, it's going to start chasing stuff like, as I expect, like the Ripple and low cap stuff, the low, sorry, per unit cost stuff where people just want a bag. And you know, the DeFi stuff and Ethereum. I think there will be a fairly strong alt season, but not like 2017, not quite like 2017.
On the topic of SPX, you think it will cruise into price discovery or plummet on coming months?
Well, I had a bet on actually earlier in the year. So if you go back through my Twitter, and I got told I was crazy for both, to be honest. And the bet that I had was that that we would see an all-time high in the SPX, and that was, you know, we were still quite some way below at that time. And so that was the first part of the bet. And once we go above it, typically what you'll get is, you know, we'll have a fake out. It'll drag in a load of buyers. The buyers will then all get dumped on and peak on the positions. And that's kind of what I'm expecting is going to happen. We'll probably pump above it and then come back down. And then the big debate is the second part of it is who's going to win the US elections, because that's going to really impact what happens with the S&P 500. If Trump wins it, I think that we're going to continue into price discovery. If Biden wins it, then it's probably going to come back down. That's typically what happens with Republicans versus the Democrats. So the other part of the bet was that Trump was going to win the election. I'm not as convinced about that part as I was, but what I would say is the markets are a lot better at pricing in what's going to happen in the election than the polls and the media, which are clearly, you know, got their own agendas and stuff going on. And the polls are actually been hopeless in recent times in both the UK and the US. So I think that there's a very strong chance that Trump will win the election as well, and the S&P 500 will, you know, cruise into all-time highs by the end of the year, mainly driven by, you know, the money that's been pumping out of the Fed.
Yeah, in 2016, Hillary Clinton had already won the elections according to polls and mass media. So
exactly,
I think Trump has a chance again this time.
Absolutely. I think the difference this time is that last time Trump was this change of the way things, change of regime, drain the swamp, you know, all this sort of stuff. Whereas this time he really messed it up with a lot of what was going on with the virus situation. So I think a lot of the people who saw him as this strong, you know, logical, I don't know, strong guy who was going to be able to, you know, run a business, run a country, you know, get a problem solved. And then he's sort of come out with a load of nonsense a lot of times when he's been talking about the virus and how he's handled it and just the way he's sort of dealt with certain people. I don't know how that's going to play out, but his opposition's Biden, who's like, to me, looks like a geriatric old man, you know, who just shouldn't be running to run one of the biggest global economy. And, you know, I just can't for the life of me understand that decision for him to run. So I don't know, we're on to politics here. It's not really my speciality, but fundamentally, I think that's what is going to drive that market. So yeah, and I'm not an American either, so I probably shouldn't speculate on things I don't really know about.
Adding to those points, on Trump's defense, like any leader of the world didn't exactly quite nail the tackling of COVID. And before COVID, the US economy was doing real good, and also unemployment was really low. And he was bringing more jobs into the US and bringing manufacturing from China to the US, which is really good. So I give it to his credit. And to the last question, Phil, gold, silver, Bitcoin, what is your price prediction for the end of the year?
Okay, this is always always a tough one. I think that we're most likely going to do something similar. I think we're following the same cycle that we did last time, and I do think we'll push up towards 20k assuming that everything that I've said remains as it is and the economic climate kind of continues the way that it is, I think there's a good chance we'll go to 14K, come back, and then we'll push on certainly towards 18,000 or maybe 22,000 this year, and then correct in the new year. So I'd say like 18 to 22K would be a reasonable upside target on Bitcoin. Gold, again, I'm waiting for that one to come back to the 20-week moving average and see how that one reacts there. I'd say there's probably maybe like $2,200, $2,400. I doubt we'd get to 2,500 this early in the cycle. Potentially wrong there, obviously. And then silver. I mean, silver's already almost done a 3x off the bottom. And then, its all-time highs sort of up at $50 or so. So silver, I don't know. Maybe, that's a tough one. I've done so well with silver predictions actually that I don't really want to spoil it. So I'd say, I don't know. It might put, if Bitcoin continues to all-time highs, I'd expect silver will probably be doing the same. So I'd say maybe it's like $45, $50. It might make it.
And with that thought, we end our episode. I'm really honored to have Phil on Point Blank. Thanks for coming on, man. Can you tell us where we can find you?
So thank you very much for having me on the show. My website is DECENTRADER.com. So that's DECENTRADER. I'm also on Twitter, so it's FILB. And from my Twitter bio, you'll find everything else. So it's normally just talking about Bitcoin and having a bit of fun, poking fun at what's going on in the world.
Thanks for listening. Until next time, peace.
This episode was brought to you by PrimeXBT, the exchange where you can trade without KYC on legacy markets with your Bitcoin. You can trade commodities like gold, silver, oil, even indexes and forex. Join now and get a 50% bonus on top of your deposit for trading at u.primexbt.com/Panama.